So Kling's new first frame, last frame feature for the 2.1 model is rolling out. And now that I've had some time to play with it, I can honestly say this is like the best version of this feature we've seen yet. So today we're gonna dive into first frame, last frame, look at some experiments, some community outputs to see where it's really shining and, well, where it still has some problems. Plus, yes, we have more bananas. You almost can't talk about first frame, last frame without talking about Nano Banana. So we've got some interesting community findings, plus possibly a release date. Kicking off, yeah, Kling have at long last released the first frame, last frame feature for the 2.1 version. Previous to this, it was only available on the 1.6 model. So, you know, it's been a minute. And then actually further note is that first frame, last frame is only available on the 2.1 model, not the 2.1 master model, which is like the more expensive one. Up front, I do have to say that, you know, previous iterations of first frame, last frame, I've always been a bit lukewarm on. In general, I've always thought that the feature did really well with atmospheric type stuff or, you know, surrealist imagery. But for the most part, for narrative, it really, you know, was very hit or miss, which makes me doubly impressed with what Kling has pulled off here. Kicking off with these two images that, well, actually prove that Keanu Reeves does indeed age. Now, I should note that this was the very first run I did with the feature. It's really impressive and it works, but it also kind of doesn't work. Yeah, by the time we hit this last frame here, like there's something kind of like off about it, and that thing that's off is the fact that we've aged our, you know, character 20 years in the span of 10 seconds. So continuing to experiment, I ended up bringing in this image of Keanu Reeves playing John Constantine, and the results were much more impressive. The prompt here was for him to walk through a doorway and enter a dirty kitchen, and indeed, yeah, pretty much nails it here. I mean, right up to that last frame, that's really good. Now, while I will admit that, you know, the jacket coming off here does look a little bit on the choppy side, you also got to give it up to the Kling model for, you know, knowing, hey, I got to ditch this jacket. In previous iterations of this, like, I mean, we would have seen either the black jacket morph into a white shirt or like something far more horrific, like involving fog and spiders. Keeping things in the Wick verse, here's a shot of Ana de Armas in Ballerina. And I wanted to see if we could merge that with a shot of Ana de Armas playing Joy in Blade Runner. Running without a prompt, the results came out shockingly coherent. Yeah, a little bit on the surreal side, I will give you that. But again, you know, besides Ana de Armas, there really isn't a lot of commonality between these two images. Now, you don't have to run promptless. I did issue a prompt here for kind of a special effects type transition between the two shots and did get that. We'll take a look more at this in a little bit. Now, in terms of prompt adherence, I do have to say it's very good. So taking this iconic shot from the original Blade Runner, and then actually another shot from the same film of Deckard at the noodle shop, and then running this with, it's kind of a longer prompt that essentially boils down to pan the camera down, we end up with this. And this, I have to say, is pretty impressive. Yeah, we're getting a full like Skyline to lower level descent. Now, I will note that in that middle section, things are a little bit on kind of like the soft and decoherent-y side, but I mean, at the same time, there's a lot of detail packed in here. So this will be interesting to see when we have access to this feature in the Kling 2.1 master model. So prompting between frames is definitely something that you'll want to pay attention to. Not to say that, you know, you can't get pretty great results if you just kind of like raw dog it, but, you know, taking these two images, I was kind of playing around with Hong Kong action cinema with chromatic aberrations. I thought they kind of looked cool. So just running this totally promptless gets us more or less what we would expect. The run and the movement is a little bit on the quick side, but, you know, it's hyper stylized, so I'm okay with it. But yeah, you know, essentially it's just a really fast pullback. But with some prompting, you can get some pretty dynamic stuff out of this, like this kind of like elevated drone shot that kind of circles around. I mean, this shot looks pretty expensive. Of course, all of that is well and good for, you know, kind of your eye candy shots, but does first frame, last frame work well for narrative? Well, to answer that, I figured I'd generate up a quick little like short film music video type thing, utilizing some shots generated up in the last video on Nano Banana. Let's take a look.
Now we're stuck in this parade of brave lights on this cursed charade, and I hope that your conference call changes
Overall, I do have to say that things ran actually remarkably smoothly with this whole thing. I did not run into problems with too many shots, with the exception of the shot where our guy walks through these doors. The original intention here was to have our guy walking through these doors, have the camera arc to the left, and then meet him essentially on the other side of the room, walking through another set of doors, almost like it's an airlock. But the model just could not wrap its head around this. So I ended up with a lot of shots of our guy walking into work and then just like kind of turning around and walking right out, which, you know, look, we've all been there. Like AI characters, they're just like us. The other issue to take note of, and this is actually not anything against Kling, this is an ongoing issue, is the idea of taking the last frame and then utilizing that as a first frame, essentially chaining them together. For example, in, I guess I'll call it the money shot of this piece, I just noticed, is this guy showing up to work at 10:55? He really is trying to get fired. Anyhow, the idea here was to chain two first frame, last frames together to kind of get, you know, a much larger view of this environment. And yeah, you know, you can see it right there, that kind of like slight sludge, I guess, between, as we're matching up between the two clips. In general, I do think that that is more pronounced when, you know what you're looking for. But, you know, as a whole, just something to be aware of when it comes to planning out your shots. Moving over to community outputs, Angry Tom gives us an Iron Man suit up. I am not one that does the whole like Hollywood VFX are dead, but I mean, this is pretty good. Dreamcast gives us this Fury Road inspired shot. Always a sucker for anything Fury Road. To note, this was actually utilizing Kling's first frame, last frame on Higgs field. So as a note, it isn't just on like the Kling mothership. Anywhere that the Kling API is available, you should have first and last frame as well. Friend of the channel, Alex Patriciu, gives us time-lapse footage, essentially using first and last frame. Again, the input image here would have been generated up and then run through Nano Banana, which of course we are going to talk about in just a moment. Yeah, really solid use case for this here. Overall, really solid feature from the Kling team. This is the first time that I really feel that we've got nailed it for first frame, last frame. And of course, all of this is made extra exciting, well, because of bananas. I mean, I cannot believe this is the third video I've done on a model that is still working under a code name. And, you know, technically we don't know who's behind it, but it is Google. I mean, I think it's best summed up by AI Warper, and hard to find motivation to build anything right now when Nano Banana will just obliterate you in a week or two. Now again, just for the sake of public service, currently the only place to use Nano Banana is on LM Arena. There are a number of scam sites set up like nanobanana.ai. These are, well, they may or may not be using the Nano Banana model, but if they are, they're just charging you to run it through LM Arena, which is free. Link to LM Arena is down below, and in case you're new to the whole banana thing, a link to my initial look at LM Arena and Nano Banana also linked below. Now, in terms of a release date for Nano Banana and potentially a name change, but I'm still going to call it Nano Banana, we still don't have full official confirmation, but I think it's coming very soon. Just this morning, Patrick Lober, a dev at Google DeepMind, tweeted out Happy Monday, wishing everyone a very appealing week ahead. Pun game is very strong there, Patrick. Real recognize real. If not this week, Testing Catalog News, who have been pretty good on the Google stuff, does sort of predict, I guess, that Banana will be going globally on September 3rd. So in any case, it does not look like long before we'll all be getting our Banana on. And it's pretty exciting because this is a very powerful model. A friend of the channel, Halim Al-Rashi, for example, takes it out on an expression test utilizing this 4-up set of images, and then utilizing a reference character, essentially recreates those same expressions with that character. That's pretty crazy. Jared Liu showcases a consistent character across 4 different locations. Yeah, I really do think that Nano Banana is going to be the nail in the coffin when it comes to consistency issues. And getting in on the fun myself, I took AI Warper's character, just grabbed a screenshot of that and issued the prompt, put this character, a Midjourney generated character, in image 1 to the same pose as the character in image 2, and this was the result. So yeah, pretty impressive. Rounding out some pretty interesting news on a partnership between Midjourney and Meta. So is that Midbook? Face Journey? But yeah, Alexander Wang, the chief AI officer at Meta, recently announced that they have a partnership with Midjourney to license their aesthetic technology for future models and products, bringing beauty to billions. To note, this is a partnership, not an acquisition. As Alexander mentions, it's a technical collaboration between our research teams, part of their effort to team up with the best companies in the industry whose work and expertise complement their own. That is to say, I do not think that you will suddenly see like meta branding all over the Midjourney website. As Midjourney CEO David Holtz mentions, we remain an independent community-backed research lab with no investors working on a staggering array of ambitious projects. And look, while I know that Meta is a pretty easy target to dog on for a lot of justified reasons, overall this does seem to be a pretty smart partnership. On the one hand, Meta has really just not gotten it together in terms of like their video and image generation. Meanwhile, Midjourney has always had very ambitious plans, but I mean, always do seem to be scrapping for resources in order to accomplish them. And that's by no means a criticism on Midjourney. They are a very small team, well, especially in comparison to something like, Meta or Google. So let me know what you guys think about Midjourney down in the comments below. I guess that's it for today. This could be a pretty big week if the Nano Banana rumors are true. Either way, I'm sure I will see you again very soon. Thank you for watching. My name is Tim.